I cannot believe he would tell a flat-out lie. And I voted based on those assurances that he made to each and every one of us. What we just saw today was an absolute demonstration that not only what he told every Republican senator, but what he told the press over and over and over again was a simple lie.
The president has no doubt that were he allowed to run again, he would remain in the White House. Cue the conspiracy theorists and find the Illuminati. America keeps buying into the campaign of hate, and why should anyone be shocked at a comedian being summoned to the White House? Especially when you consider there is always an element of comedy in what emerges from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Right, left, and everything in between, buckle up, let's go in. He's the senior political contributor at Forbes and co-host of The Daily Wrap, seen weeknights at 7 Eastern right here on Newsmax. Rick Ungar, joined by the former head of FEMA, now radio talker at the mighty 630 KHOW in Denver, Colorado, Michael Brown. Good to see you both, gentlemen. I tell you what, Mike, I'm going to start with you. Ted Cruz goes after Mitch McConnell on the Senate floor. Really didn't break any Senate rules, but still, it's not considered to be something that you do when you impugn another senator here. Mike Huckabee's talking about the ovens. We have so much going on. It almost seems like this is a campaign of hate, and it almost seems as if we're trying to find the guy who can get to the top of the heap first.
Everyone's competing for exactly what the three of us are doing right now, and that is getting airtime. And I think what we saw with the Cruz speech was basically just telling the truth about something that occurred in a caucus meeting. And what I found so funny about that was he's blasted for violating the rules of decorum, which then raises the question, exactly how do you lie with decorum? And then you've got Mike Huckabee. Look, with Huckabee, the problem is I just think anytime you invoke Nazis, the ovens, or anything, you lose the message, you lose the audience. And I just think it's a place you don't need to go. Israel is not going back to the ovens. The Jews are not going back to the ovens. Netanyahu won't allow it. Netanyahu's opposition won't allow it. It just ain't going to happen.
So, Rick, when we get down to this, the hate speech that's going on here, and I want, first of all, let me separate hate speech that we normally talk about in a criminal sense and hate speech here. Right. It just seems like the politicians are all trying to find, again, that one nugget, that one little shiny thing that'll get people to listen. And I think that's the biggest problem. What are we really listening for here? What do we want to hear?
Well, it's just a great point. I think I'd alter one thing you said. I don't think they're racing to get to the top of the heap. I think they're racing to get to the lowest point in the pit, because what we're hearing, listen, we've all been doing this a long time. I don't remember ever hearing this kind of dialogue. I think I have to point the finger, though, right where it starts, and that's with Mr. Trump. He is the one who is making it clear that it pays to behave this way, because we end up talking about him incessantly. Look, you know, Mike Huckabee set out to steal the attention yesterday with his horrible remarks. It worked. On my show, it was the top segment. Every other night, pretty much, it's been Trump. So it's getting them the attention that they crave. Is that doing anything for the American public? I think we probably all agree that it's not.
All right, let's move on then to the current president of the United States. The president telling members of the press and also the gathered friends there, if you will, in Africa, that despite being popular enough to win a third term and work that will likely be unfinished, that even he is subject to the Constitution. Here were his comments.
I actually think I'm a pretty good president. I think if I ran, I could win. But I can't. So there's a lot that I'd like to do to keep America moving, but the law is the law.
Oh, how interesting. President Obama actually considering the law is the law. I'll leave that for another time and another discussion as well. Mike, I got about 60 seconds left, so 30 to you then on this one. I think people need to be a little bit frightened, because there are people thinking, well, okay, we're not going to get Barack Obama for a third term, but we may just get his policies again for a third term. It's interesting when he said that. He has no fear anymore at this point in his life.
He has no fear. He has nothing to lose. And I think I think the president truly has kind of turned into the internet troll that you'll find on Facebook or Twitter somewhere, where he's just saying these things just to get people to react to it. Look, I listened to it and I watched him, and I couldn't help watching him as closely as I could and thinking, you're trolling us, Mr. President. You're really just trolling us right now.
All right, Rick, how goes the trolling then for the president?
Well, just a couple of points. One, I don't think you're in any danger, for better or for worse, of getting the same policies as
Why did we
Barack
know
Obama.
You'd say that, Rick? Congratulations. We knew you right in there, brother. Good to see you sticking with it.
When you say you have to fear it, but more importantly, it must be an incredibly slow news day when we're actually talking about an incredibly innocuous joke that the president told in a foreign country. I mean, is this the best we got? And yet, I know we're talking about it on my show, too, so I guess this is what happens at the end of July.
And they're talking about it on Brownie's show, too, and they're talking about it on every show around America. And if you think this one was interesting, wait till you see what I got for you in the next one. Short break. We're back with the yin and the yang, the left and the right, to mano y mano. Michael Brown and Rick Ungar, stay with us right here on the fastest 60 minutes in news, The Hardline. All right, back to work with co-host of the Daily Wrap here on Newsmax every weeknight at 7 p.m. Eastern, Rick Ungar, and the afternoon drive talker from 4 to 7 p.m. Mountain Time on 630 KHOW in Denver, Colorado, Michael Brown. Before we move on to some of the more interesting stuff, look, you mentioned, and we did talk a little bit about Donald Trump. One other thing that I do think we need to talk about here, and Rick, this is going to come to you first. You can say what you want about Donald Trump, you can say anything you want, but isn't it a little reprehensible that we have the Daily Beast coming out and going to a 30-year-old story that's been completely proven without any element of truth in it whatsoever regarding his divorce and his wife? It's a smear campaign more than anything else. This bothers me just as much as anything else. This is not what we're supposed to be doing, digging back 30 years looking for stuff that's already been settled.
Gosh, I mean, that's such a long answer. Number one, I just think about President Obama. You went back a whole lot longer than 30 years to try and smear him. That said, when we're talking about if the allegations that are contained in that article are true, and by the way, Mrs. Trump stated all of this in a sworn deposition.
But she's walked it all back, though.
About that?
She's walked it all back. She said that was only in a book.
It was only in a book? No, she didn't. I read the article 5 times. What she said in her walk back might have something to do with the fact that when she settled that case, as it also says in the article, she signed an agreement not to disparage her ex-husband. And yet, she said it in a sworn deposition. She said in the book, if you read her statement in the book, she calmed it down a bit, but then she said everything else in this book is true. So no, I think you got to be a little more objective here. I am purposely not accusing him of anything in this regard. People should read the article for themselves. But if you're like I am and you believe that character matters, and by the way, I've been beating the you-know-what out of Hillary Clinton on the subject of character matters, then character matters for everybody. Read the article, decide for yourself. If you think there's no harm, no foul, then fine. But if you do, character matters.
Okay, I wanted to just go ahead and make sure that we made that point because we had mentioned the Donald once. Let me move on to something else. Mike, to you. John Stewart's secret White House visits, big article in Politico. Now, we talked a little while ago about discussing a presidential joke here. This is sort of interesting because, look, Michael, don't you agree with me that Republican strategists are looking at this and saying, boy, I wish we had a chance to get a guy on our side who saw millions of people every night and got our message out?
Do you know how many times I talk about conservatives' lack of humor? If we don't learn to laugh and make jokes, if we don't learn to somehow integrate conservative policy into popular culture, we're doomed to failure. I don't blame Obama for having John Stewart to the White House. I do question, like, why does it have to be secret? Because, you know, what's the big deal there? But come on, conservatives have got to learn to laugh. We've got to learn to point out the foibles of what we do, the foibles of everything. Conservatives just need to learn to chill out a little bit and laugh about stuff. So, frankly, I say touche to the left for having a John Stewart. I just wish we could find one on the right in cloning.
All right, so here we go now with a minute left.
That's great advice from Michael, I got to say. He must be reading Arthur Brooks' new book, who is the head of the AEI, a conservative, who says the same thing, and you guys are on the money.
We absolutely have to have a sense of humor. We're going to have one right here. Yesterday, was the premiere of Animal House. So many years ago, it changed the world as we know it. Rick Ungar, give me the one line from Animal House that you will never forget and use to this day. One line.
It's got to be Dean Warmer's, going through life fat, dumb, and stupid, or whatever it is. There's no way to go through life, son.
Actually,
one of my all-time favorite movies. Yeah, I didn't get it exactly right.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life,
Fat,
son.
drunk, and stupid. Right.
There you go. Okay, Michael, to you, the line that still sits to this day and that you use in your regular day-to-day.
I play this soundbite on my radio program probably once every 6 weeks. Over? It's not over till I say it's over. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? No.
Pearl Harbor.
And if you'll remember something at the end of the movie, the epilogue said that the character, Blutarsky, became Senator Blutarsky.
Became a senator.
I want you both to think about that for a moment because it's perfect. Perfect for today. Michael Brown, Rick Ungar, always a pleasure, gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us. We will gather here at the Animal House Conclave again another time. All right. Stay with us because we're right back here tomorrow. Rock on, true believers. See you then, right back here on The Hard Line.